let's paint a picture then. So we've gone kind of high level on this, almost philosophical. For those who haven't yet seen some of the videos, and the videos are beautiful, but they have very nice production. What are some of the exercises or games? Let's take it right down to the nitty gritty here that people might do if they came to a workshop.
Well, that's the difficult thing to put in words. But let's say try to make an understandable framework, like how we approach this philosophical aspect, the embodiment of that. And it's a process that hasn't been cleared up all the way. I think it's an ongoing process of understanding now as the picture unfolds. But one thing that's become like an anchor of the practice is the fall. So we exercise the fall, and we experience the fall very physically. And yet the physicality of the fall, it's embedded with this philosophical existential sense of falling. Mm-hmm. So when you take down someone to the ground, it extrapolates a technical means to remove support. What we are aiming is to do that, but at the same time, very respectfully, very tactfully, we are also removing the sense of support, or at least the false sense of support, which I call the resistance. So we really face each other's resistance in this way. And the body is giving all these signals of resistance. So it's ability of the one who is facilitating to read, to capture those resistance. And you physically, we go in those points of support and remove it. So the people, you experience the fear of falling. But that fear of falling, it can speak much more than fear of literally falling on the ground. It can speak so much more than this kind of reflex of not wanting, not willing to go to the ground.
Falling's a huge art. I mean, I actually hold a world record for being the number of throws I've been thrown in Aikido. I did 3,001 in a day. It was a lot of fun, and I just did nothing. I did nothing but get thrown in Aikido for several months as preparation. So I didn't throw anyone. I turned up to class and just got thrown around. For it's quite hard work. I was the fittest I've ever been, actually. Me and my friend Polish Pete did this for our 30th birthdays. And I've always loved the falling side of Aikido and the rolling side and the being able to trust the ground because you're not scared of, there's not a distance from it. It's like, okay, I'm just rearranging my body on the ground. And I think this is a really beautiful part of Aikido that is also the most useful self-defense skill of Aikido as well, is how to fall over. A student of mine came off her motorbike in Thailand just a few days ago and came away unscathed because of her Aikido rolling, But I think there's almost profound lessons in this ability to fall and playing with falling and getting comfortable on the ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I can relate to that. And what I want to focus actually on the craft that I'm devote my life now. And I had experience of people coming from Aikido and so there has always been this need of people putting things in comparison somehow, which I think it's valid. Because we always need to have points of reference to situate ourselves. But what I can say, like the experience of falling, it tends to be very unusual. Because again, it's not what you see through the form, because you can see someone falling very much like people would fall in other ways. But I think the experience you get from that falling, it's I don't want to claim any saying that this is better or worse. Is just different. It's different because the way you treat the approach, a fall, it has other components which usually are not present in other practice.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We have this urge to compare. So naturally, I've done Aikido and contact. I see your videos. I think like that. I see through that lens. And it's just what we do as human beings. But equally, it's always a mistake, isn't it? To not approach something fresh as the thing itself. I also saw you playing with sticks as well. It looks like you have some fun with sticks. Maybe you can tell us about
that. I think the sticks are is one of my favorite tools. It removes a little bit the personal engagement. So it's still the person who manipulates the stick, but the fact that you have the contact with not through the hand of someone, but just a wooden object. And then I think we tend to be less ego-driven in that relationship, or a bit more responsible to look at how we respond to the situation, or let's say to our faults, as opposed to blame immediately in no, because you are doing this way, you are doing that way. Like, you
the
cannot
stick doesn't care, right? The wood doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
Doesn't give a shit. There's not much like to enter an argument with the stick. It will sound a bit silly. So I think it, in a way, it's a beautiful invitation to be more in an area that needs to be negotiated within the self, rather than potentially be engaged in a discussion or in a quarrel with someone. No, because you're the guy told me to do this, you're not doing that, or no. I think the stick it can be very revealing in this aspect. So I like very much, and there is a vast array of drills you can get with the stick. So it's beautiful. I think it opens up a lot the space for exploration.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, any other sort of major aspects before we start moving to conclusion that you want to, obviously it seems like a big system with a lot there, and it's very hard to talk about these kind of things without experiencing them, but any other aspects you want to bring in?
I see like the practice is predicated on 3 or 4 pillars. I think the embodiment of no resistance, the falling, the self honesty, and connectivity. I think connectivity is a very important drive for humans. And so I feel there's an interplay of these elements, like, as long as we are assuming a stance of resistance, even if it's unconsciously, in fact, we are preventing ourselves to establish a real sense of connectedness with someone. And the way actually one of the ways at least, or at least the Playfight way to access this space of no resistance is through the fall. So when you start to fall, it's kind of letting go of whatever you used to cling onto, into. So the fall, it's very, very, it can be very dreadful, very fearful, but the fall, it also is very liberating. And what happens is a sense of connecting to aspects that usually we sort of don't want to see. So I think this integration allow us to enter in the space towards someone else from completely different perspective, much more honest, much more sincere to the facts of without coming with these barriers and filters. So I think I think in the end, the whole practice boils down to the kind of connectivity, which I see it's a very common ground for people, regardless which background they come from. I think there's this yearning for connectivity. That's the space I can relate to whatever practice, but how access that, it has a certain particularity, which works also very much on the psychological, on emotional, existential aspects that usually you tend to deny, to push out of the picture. I like to include it. I like to not make any kind of therapy or new age stuff. It's not my way, but to really honor the what means to be to be together with our vulnerabilities, with our to have a space we can be in trust that life includes aspects that usually sometimes you feel a little bit ashamed, that you feel now you want to enter the space and feel good about, or you want to like to have sort of a project your self-image. So, and I think it's a space that we cultivate lots of power from this vulnerability that we are giving to each other. And then we do it in a very playful way. And I think with it's not very, very comfortable, this experience, but I think what you get sometimes, and I myself, I have to be the first one to expose myself in that space. I really don't like to play this authoritarian role. So people are expecting you to give a quick fix. I think it's really about and it's a big challenge for my status. Maybe lots of people not respect it, because maybe people they want to trust that kind of knowledgeable person who transmits so much security. So I think we are playfully get engaged in the most like the basic core of this of existential fabric, so to speak.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, there's so much in that. Could talk for a long time about any one of those subjects. You mentioned non-resistance as well. I think this is just under-discussed. This almost Taoist concept. It doesn't necessarily make much sense. People say, well, what do you mean non-resistance? That sounds like giving up. I think that's kind of an interesting theme to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we bring our own associations into the space. So what I ask people to be patient in the beginning of the class, it's whatever ideas and concepts you have about the terminology I want to present here, but the technology is going to be supported by the experience. So I'm not very interested in discussing the semantics of the words. But of course, you have to use the words, but you use it as a pointer. So when talking about resistance, possibly your understanding of a resistance, it doesn't match completely my understanding of a resistance. And you have to have a common ground. And the common ground is given by the experience, because when you have the experience and I look at you and then that resonates with me, so you can discard the words. And whatever words you use to describe that experience, I'm fine. I have no problem with that. So it's not so much in a conceptual game now, but it's about just using some frameworks in order to introduce you to the experience. And the embodiment is the fundamental ground from which we can navigate it towards a common direction. But if that direction is not aligned in the beginning, you may think that you are heading towards the same place I'm heading, but in fact, you may be going in a completely opposite direction. So I really feel responsible in a way to set up the north, and so that we have to be able to re-signify much of the concepts you bring into the space from whatever background you come from.
Thank you. Now, we need to wrap up fairly soon here, I'm afraid, Bruno. But is the Born to Play Festival still on this year in June, or is it cancelled because of COVID, the Tuscany one?
The Born to Play Festival, unfortunately, was cancelled. We have to postpone. You're supposed to have two events. One in April in Berlin, the urban version. Was supposed to take place during the Easter time, and then you had the summer festival in Tuscany in June, and it's very painful to take this decision, but it's a crazy situation.
It is what it is. I was looking at it in my diary, thinking, I hope it's in July or August. And I just checked ahead of us talking today, and I was like, bugger, it's in June. It's probably cancelled. Yeah. So that's just asking for myself, because I was hoping to come, but you'll see me at another one, no doubt. And okay. Where do people find you then? What do they look online?
Well, we have a website. It's a formless-arts.com. So in that platform, you find the other websites, the Liquid Body, Playfight, and Born to Play. So it's a sort of a distributor of websites there.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you have a page on Facebook, Formless Arts, and also have Instagram, Formless Arts, Playfight practice. So there's a big variety of options to get in touch.
I'll find you on Instagram now while we're on the line. And by the way, people, do check out those websites. I'm actually going to ask you who your designer is, Bruno, and who your video person is as well, because they really are lovely. And just as, you know, if you want an aesthetic experience, the website and the videos are particularly the videos, some of the best I've seen, actually. So, you know, it's nice to see that aesthetics there as well, you know.
That's great to hear, Mark. And I will tell Marina.
Tell her she's got a job for me if she wants it. So
I will tell her. She'll be very happy.
Very nice. Tell her to get in touch. We've got a budget. And are you coming to the Embodiment Conference? Have you had a formal invite yet? Can I give you one if not?
Sorry,
the Embodiment Conference in October. I'd like to give you I wasn't sure if I'd invited you yet, or I was waiting to talk to you, but you are super welcome. We would maybe just tell you know, we can talk afterwards about the details, but you know, you're very welcome at the Embodiment Conference. If you want to teach a few 100,000 people online, then we'll happily give you an opportunity. So okay, and maybe Bruno, this has been fun. I feel like we're brothers by a different mother. And I imagine we'll have a lot of fun, even more fun in person when we get together at some point in the future, you know, virus allowing, in Russia or Italy or Berlin or somewhere else. So maybe I'm overdue a trip to Brazil as well if you stay there. So, okay, final message about the body, Bruno, to seal the session.
Well, maybe to relate a little bit to the times where we find ourselves right now. I think the body is being seriously compromised, and I really feel it's in a way the whole slowing down. It has some consequences in the body. On the other hand, we have the opportunity also to refrain from this habit of going from one place to the next, like just to maybe to take time to observe. Since you have to be now confined in one place for really long periods of time, like now, I think it's a great opportunity to get more in close touch with the body and establish this conversational relationship to our bodies, which maybe some people they do have, but other people maybe are was just going over that. And I think it's a precious opportunity for us to reevaluate so much the relationships that we tend to overlook to the body, and give it maybe space, give a little bit of room for these needs also to come out. It doesn't need to be like very impulsive, but I think it's a process of cultivation that can be flourishing now in these challenging times.
Bruno, muito obrigado. Legal. And super cool, man. Super cool. So nice. I've got to run right now. So really good to talk to you, man. A real pleasure. Yes. I've sent you some messages on Facebook about the conference. So hopefully we'll chat again. Take care, mate. Okay.
I appreciate it.